All right, guys, so this is what I was worried about with Hurricane Elsa, or Tropical Storm Elsa. Category 1, pretty much. Category 2, pretty much tropical storms. But I was worried all these screens, or at least a few of them, were gonna get messed up. And nah, we Gucci. We good to go. I was getting like messages, you know, people had us in their prayers, and I appreciate it, guys. But Floridians know, if it ain't like a category 4, 5, we staying home, man. We might lose power for a little bit, but I got a big ass generator called a Tesla in my garage. So we good, man, we good. But I really do appreciate people caring and reaching out, having us in their prayers. It's windy as hell, look, it's dumb windy. But I had these out here last night when the tropical storm, or hurricane, whatever you wanna call it, was out here, it's still there. All right, y'all, I'm on the way to the barbershop. I'm doing 2 haircuts today. Both I consider, you know, friends of mine and just clients I have relationships with. So I usually try to bless them, but I'm about to start ramping up, getting into the shop a lot more just because of a project that we have going on. I'm actually kind of excited for that. I need a new season in my life. I think being in the shop more often will benefit everybody. And what I mean by that is like I'll be able to produce more tutorials for YouTube. It'll help the businesses out, the company out. So definitely gonna get back on that barbershop grind a little bit more. Nothing crazy, but a little bit more. Yo, but last night, or the day, I was having a conversation with some friends of mine who are females. So there was a statistic that came out. The statistic was that the amount of children growing up with 2 parents has risen to 70%, and that's like an all-time high. To me, it was a little bit misleading, and so I commented, it would be better if a 2-parent household was at an all-time high. And of course, you know, there were some responses to that, people giving their opinion. All females, they definitely see things a little differently than men. And we've always kind of known this, but women tend to think much more emotionally and men tend to think much more, you know, logically. The response to my comment, immediately, it wasn't, yeah, you're right. It was, yeah, but not if the household is toxic, not if the relationship between the father and mother is toxic. And I kind of knew where this was going. And anytime a man tries to argue with a woman, logic versus feelings, you're never going to win that battle because men and women just think differently. You know what I mean? You can't win an argument with someone who even uses the word toxic. You know what I mean? Let me explain what I mean by that. Statistics show that kids fare better as adults in a household where a mother and father are together. Not 2 parents raising kids apart. A household with a mother and father in the household. And I'm not even gonna bring up my experience because it doesn't matter. If we're thinking logically, if we're thinking based on facts, it doesn't matter what my experiences were. Anybody can say, yeah, but from my experience, my parents stayed together and they got divorced after I left and look how I came out. And then another person can be like, yo, my parents were having a toxic relationship, arguing all the time. They split up and look how I came out. There's always gonna be that. But the stats don't lie. The numbers don't lie, guys. The probability that a child growing up in a household with 2 parents skyrockets compared to any other situation. Yo, there are exceptions, but I always tell people, generally speaking, we have to speak generally. The truth is the truth. And so you can say that you feel like 2 parents split apart, that argue a lot. Raising a kid is better than 2 parents staying in the same household that argue a lot. But ultimately, this is how I see it. You have a mission as a mother and father. Once a kid is brought into the world with 2 consenting adults, there's a mission now. Like things have changed, priorities change. And I'm sorry, but love and happiness, it's important. And I'd rather have a life with that. But there's going to be seasons in your life where it's going to be rocky. It happens with relationships with your mother, your father, your brother, and your sister. Luckily, you cannot divorce your brother or your sister. Luckily, right? How many people would have had 15 divorces by now if they could do that? When you have a child with someone, especially if you guys make vows, that person is more important than your brother and your sister, in my opinion. That's it. That's like the closest thing to you, the most important person to you besides your kids, and for some of you guys, God, right? Not trying to bring religion into this. If that's the case, How are we so quick to divorce the mother or the father of our children, but it's not even an option for a sibling? You gotta have the mentality, once you have kids and you make vows, that divorce is not an option. We gotta stop normalizing that. And let me explain, you have to think 5 moves ahead. Put it into perspective. If you split up with the mother of your children, there's gonna be a new man coming into your baby mama's life who's going to become part of your child's life. I'm sorry, I'm not a deadbeat dad. Now, if I was, mommy's gotta do what she's gotta do to protect her family. But the fact that I'm not a deadbeat dad, ain't no way I'm allowing another man come into my child's life. And you can say, they're not raising my kid, no, they're in the house. Once your baby mama brings another man into the house, that man becomes part of your child's life. I don't know dudes like that. I don't like a lot of dudes and how they operate. So I don't want another man becoming an influence to my child because I don't know how they rock. And most men don't operate the way that I would want my children to operate. Let's keep it a buck. Now, there are exceptions where, a stepfather's necessary because, like I said, the mother's got to protect the nest, and there's a lot of deadbeats out there, and there's men that are abusives, and these are exceptions to the rule, right? I'm talking about 2 adults who have children and make vows who split up because they're in a toxic relationship. And by toxic, we talking about arguing, we talking about they're not happy together. Happiness does not take priority over your kids having a 2-parent household. It just don't. Because if your child's probability of becoming a successful adult and having a great childhood is the priority, and that a 2-parent household skyrockets the chance of that statistically, that takes priority over a happy home. But let me break this down a little bit more. The mission is your kids to be brought up properly. That's the mission. And be raised right, be protected, to become fair adults. My business partner shared a meme, a chat that we have together, and this is the meme right here. Read it real quick. If you use this example with a toxic household that's thinking about splitting up because they're not happy, because 2 adults are not happy together, the cost is, as a man, this is the cost, and you might have another man move into that household to help raise your child 50% of the time, maybe more, I don't know. That's a hell of a cost. Wait, because we're not happy? I'm done arguing. What you need to be happy? Let's make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can use the same example of this meme. Happiness is the money to a crackhead. Crackhead ain't got money, but the mission is to get some crack. They gonna figure it out because the mission is more important than anything. So they gonna figure out the money part because the mission is the crack. If the mission was as important to 2 adult parents as crack was to a crackhead, those 2 adult parents would find the happiness. They'd figure it out. Unless it's an abusive relationship or one of the parents is draining resources, the mission is just not priority to them, that's a different story. But we talking about adults splitting up because they're not happy and it's a toxic relationship. I might be crazy and this might offend some people, but it just sounds selfish to me. It sounds like 2 adults who got egos, who are emotional, who have forgotten what the mission is and haven't put it into perspective. Because if the mission was as important as crack to a crackhead, it'd be easy to do anything possible to figure out the happiness part. Like, what we really mad about? I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I gotta remind myself, when me and my wife, we argue, what are we arguing about? We said some really mean things to each other over what? And if this keeps up, how can we seriously continue the mission? A lot of times, man, when you really break it down, people be arguing about shit that really don't even matter. And then you'll ask somebody why they split up with the parent of their child, the father or the mother of their child, and they can't even really tell you. The answer is always, it was just toxic. We just weren't happy. But why was it toxic? Why weren't you happy? We just argue all the time. About what? Money, bills. Really? He looked at her like this, or she looked at him like that. I don't know. I feel like when you really break it down, it doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I felt like it was important to cover this topic. Listen, I've been with my wife for 16 years now. We're not perfect at all, but I can tell you, we've always said divorce is not an option. even before we got married. The moment kids came into our life, we are married. That's it. And I know my religious people are gonna disagree, but that person is not leaving your life the rest of your life. And kids automatically change priorities. They automatically come. Happiness and love and sex and all that stuff was what all you thought about. Kids topped all that, right? So I think when you really put things into perspective, man, what are you really unhappy about? And is it really worth the price ultimately that two adults are going to pay that were once in a situation where they agreed to a mission? I would just say, as a man, from speaking from a man's perspective and speaking to men, you gotta be about your business, man. You gotta be focused. All the noise, all the emotional stuff, when you look at, again, 5 moves ahead, and you put things into perspective, there's a lot of things that might upset you. There's a lot of things that might cause you to act irrationally. And that's why we were talking about, the situation where that racist man was spitting in this dude's face. He wasn't necessarily calm, but he kept his cool because he didn't hit the dude. He didn't give this racist dude what he wanted. And to me, that showed strength that I don't even have. But I learned from that. Men need to do better at that. And when you can do better at that, and when you can keep your cool, your emotions, and think logically, you make smarter decisions. Like, I'm not going to do something that's going to cost me this household. Like arguing logic with your spouse or with your partner, like trying to argue something with someone who's emotionally upset. Can't do it. You gotta let them calm down. And that's something I'm trying to get better at as well. But whatever those problems are they really that big of a problem that you're willing to let it cost you the game? And a lot of people that's willing to have these conversations and to talk about this. I think there's a stupid culture in normalizing a lot of stuff that it just don't make a lot of sense to me. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys, in the comments below. Smash the like button. I'm just sharing with you guys some wisdom over the years. Been with my wife for 16 years. We got 2 amazing kids. Have definitely had our ups and downs in every aspect. Every relationship has its problems. Some people have different tolerance levels, and sometimes people forget the mission. It's no different than entrepreneurs who are struggling with counting their blessings. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are depressed and stress themselves out, and sometimes you just got to put things into perspective to realize, man, I'm doing good, man. Like, I've come a long way. What am I really depressed about? I sound stupid. I'm not where I used to be. I'm not where I want to be, but I ain't where I used to be, and I'm in a great place. When you put things into perspective, I feel like it's no different. Sometimes you got to have those conversations with people that are willing to tell you, bro, shut up, put things into perspective. What are you even talking about? Sometimes we let movies, we let social media, we let our perception of other relationships or other businesses, other entrepreneurs, other men, other women really mess up the good things we have going on. And if you were to put out highlights of all the great things you got going on social media, you might be the very reason somebody else is feeling just like you are before you put things into perspective. Really something to think about, guys. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all checking out Life of Basio. This is my newest channel. I have a barbering channel with 350 something thousand subscribers where we talk about everything barber industry, including the entrepreneurship, haircut tutorials, just trying to help you in the barber industry. I've led a successful career in that industry, and I just want to be able to cover other topics, sharing my thoughts, and also, things that might pique your interest that don't necessarily relate to the barber industry. So if you like the channel, please do subscribe, smash the like button, and share it.